Great. Lovely to see you, Gurjeev, and good to see you in good health, finally. So let's begin with Gurjeev. And actually, all the panelists, no offense meant to the rest, because you all might take offense there. I only said good to see Gurjeev. But I think Gurjeev was going through a bout of illness, so he's recovered, which is great. I'll begin with you. Give us a sense of what is the TV business, the ecosystem of distribution, looking like from the perspective of a broadcaster, a leading broadcaster like Star.
Well, thank you, Anil, and good afternoon to all the panelists and people who are watching us for this session. Anil, you talked about what's the state of our TV and the pay TV business. Let me start by saying India is a large and highly diverse country with a population we all know is 1.3 billion, very robust population, having more than 320 million homes, and the estimated television penetration is close to 60%, which basically states that in India, we have more than 1/3 of the homes which still don't have television sets. So basically a big headroom or a massive headroom for growth. The BARC report of 2020 suggests that the TV base in India has grown to 210 million, which is a healthy 7% growth despite of pandemic. So I think that's a good sign. Every year in India, there are close to 12 to 14 million television sets which are being sold. Out of this, 50% goes as part of replacement for the old ones, and we add close to 6 to 7 million new TV homes. I think that's a good sign. And there are states in India where TV penetration is quite robust. Markets like Tamil Nadu and Kerala, according to BARC, they have a very strong TV penetration of 98 and 92% respectively. But there are markets which are having problems in TV penetration, which are grossly underpenetrated. Markets like Bihar, Jharkhand, and Orissa have very, very low TV penetration. And also markets like UP, Uttarakhand, MP, Chhattisgarh, where the TV penetration moves around 40-odd%. So basically a good potential for selling television in these markets, and followed by converting these television homes to pay TV at a foreseeable future. So all this is very sound, very good for the business. I think that TRAI and FICCI reported that there are 130 million pay TV homes in the country. And recent BARC report also suggested because of pandemic, there has been implementing of the pay TV homes, which have tumbled down by 2 to 3 million. This, to my mind, is primarily because of pandemic, poor economic conditions where people lost jobs. We had huge issues as far as the commercial business was concerned. So I think this is more of a one-off phenomena and an aberration where people move from pay to FTA because they didn't have disposable income. My take is that as economy will bounce back, income levels will rise, homes will adopt to television as a medium of entertainment. Linear pay TV business, which is in a very, very good position, where I think the ARPUs who were around 240 odd rupees, which is less than $3.50. TV remains most affordable and a cheapest form of entertainment for the entire family, and is poised to grow. That's what I think. I think, Anil, we have seen in distribution, especially at the top end, we have competition coming from OTT, and at the bottom end, we have competition which is thrown by a free dish, where it has taken, especially because of pandemic, some subscriber base. So we are, I think, because television penetrations are improving, there is a big possibility that the pay TV numbers will continue to grow, but the growth has slowed down a bit.
Okay, Ashish, you've been observing this industry for a while. Your perspective on what Gurjeev just said, there's been a slowdown. Do you see this changing? Do you see it like he's optimistic about that? Do you see that changing, Ashish?
Yeah, so I look at it as a summation of all the people whose faces I can see out here. They've taught me everything I know on the sector. Samba gives me a quarterly dose of his point of view, which is always very enlightening. Winsley teaches me everything I need to know on hits, and Gurjeev is, of course, Gurjeev and SN and Amit, coming from everywhere. My take is slightly different. I think we've got to redefine how we look at TV. All right. And TV is basically a large screen, right? Now, yes, I'll be releasing the FICCI report hopefully around March. We will show a further 6 million fall or whatever in pay TV universe. But that's not really the true picture the way I see it. I will also be showing a very big growth in the connected TV side. And that's pay as well, right? So I think the industry is kind of going through a phase where it's seeing what Gurjeev said, that the connected TV is growing, free dish is coming down, growing, pay TV is coming down. But if I look at pay TV plus connected TV, I would say there's a growth, and that growth will continue into the future. All right, 2 points more around this. One is that we have 300 million homes today, right? If 130 million are paying for TV, say 10 are paying for connected TV, that's about 140 million homes today. There's still 160 million homes more theoretically who will pay or not pay, right? I always believe in this gold mine at the bottom of the pyramid called free dish, and I've been talking about it in the FICCI report for the last 4 years. That's 40 million, 45 million or whatever. We don't know how to get the correct numbers, but that's 40 million. We're still looking at a 185 million versus 300 million. Government's doing a lot of stuff to do direct transfer of benefits, Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobile, all of that stuff. It's all going to trickle down, give it time. So I think overall the base will grow. And then finally it's segmentation, right? You have 45 million at the bottom, 50 million at the bottom who will never pay for it. They will be happy with their free dish. You'll have a 130 million, 140, 150 million who will pay for it. And you'll have, like any luxury product, 50, 60 million who will always be connected TV customers and pay a higher amount for that. I think that's how the market will evolve. We'll reach 200, 220, 225 million homes by maybe 2027 or somewhere there. And I think that's a good way to look at it, because that's really how the market for any product, not just television, will always have a free, a pay, a mass pay, and a premium, right? You can't expect Mercedes-Benz to go and sell to more than 100 million homes in the country. That's never going to happen, right? They send 12,000 cars in a year. It's awesome for them. But I'm just saying that's pretty much how any market would work. I don't see this different.
Okay, thank you. Amit, over to you, and then I'll come to the platforms.
What do you want me to speak on? I mean,
Basically, we're talking about with the optimistic outlook that both Gurjeev and Ashish have laid out, and the positive outlook. Are you positive about linear TV?
I'll tell you, honestly, I mean, I would pretty much chime into what my thoughts resonate with what Gurjeev and Ashish have just said. Ashish has beautifully put it in 3 buckets. One at the bottom with free TV, which pretty much exists whether you go to Europe or US or Australia or India. And then you've got the mass paying 120, 130 million subs, and you'll have the 30, 40, 50 million who will move on to devices, connected TVs. That's pretty much the way India is. Second point, again, what Gurjeev said, $3.50. I mean, nowhere in the world you'll find 300 channels onto your screen for $3.50. And India, as I always said, Indian consumer has always been a consumer which wants more for less. I mean, the challenge for every marketing manager in this country, be it any sector, is going to be, how do I give you more for less? The last point that I'm keeping it short, last point I want to make is that, we all need to now fundamentally step back for a while and see, how things have changed over the last 5 years. I mean, there was so much of conversation around the tariff order, which was envisaged in somewhere in 2016. I think the biggest black swan event that not only our sector, be it hotel, aviation, any other sector, consumption behavior, consumption patterns, which have changed is because of the pandemic. Now, what was true 5 years ago, then when you wanted to move from a wholesale regime to a retail regime, you wanted more restrictions, you wanted more regulations, you wanted more deals to be out in the public. Is that really going to work? I mean, where do you go from here is really the question. I mean, you've seen a drop of about 20, 30 million subs between transitioning of NTO from one regime to the other regime. Now, are all these restrictions going to work in times to come for future? I mean, do you still want so many restrictions in a broadcaster's life or a DPO's life that when you form a bouquet, you got to follow these 3 parameters? If you do a scheme, it has to be one, do it for one, you do it for all. I mean, the spirit of entrepreneurship to increase fundamentally the pay TV universe needs to now really need to kick in. And the challenges that I see is that we'll have to all break down our challenges, including the regulator. Is what do I do in the short term? What do I do in the midterm? What do I do in the long term? The answer to my mind, and I was listening to Anuj in the morning, the answer does not lie in over and over regulation at all. It is going to kill the business spirit over a longer period of time. Now, what kind of regulations you want in your life? You want a broad paradigm with a must provide, with a addressal of non-payments, your addressal of piracy. Do you want a broad paradigm, or do you want everything to be over-regulated? I think lots of economic sectors, a lot of economies across the globe have shown that over restrictive policies have not led to the fundamental growth of business. But I remain positive about the linear TV piece. I'm not saying that 120 million today is going to grow to 200 million in the next 3 years, but the way most of the people are writing it off in today's world, I don't think so. India is going to remain that. There's a whole bulk of DAS 3 and DAS 4 markets which are going to remain connected to television. Of course, you will see DAS 1 and DAS 2, lots of people moving to small screens. You'll have cord cutters, you'll have cord nevers, but overall, it is all going to exist together. How do we grow it is going to be the bigger challenge, as I see.
Great. That was pretty well rounded up. In terms of, let's listen to SN now. SN, you've heard these two, the content providers actually talking here now. From your perspective, what do you envisage for this entire video distribution and broadband distribution system that you're operating? Winsley is moving towards digital platform services. What do you envisage for DEN in terms of and cable TV as a whole? Just unmute QJ, please. SN sir. SN sir, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh,
yeah. So Anil, they muted me initially, so it wasn't me.
Okay, apologies. Yeah.
And good noon to you and to all the fellow colleagues and friends in the audience on the panel. Anil, your hairstyle has undergone some change, or
yes, I've grown a ponytail. No, I haven't managed to go to the barber because of the pandemic, and I've got a ponytail.
Amit Arora or something like that.
Yes, I follow the leaders. He's leading India Cast now.
Amit, you are the leader now.
Yes, these are lockdown effects.
Lockdown hairstyle. That's what lockdown hairstyle.
Yeah. So we all have grown together in this industry, and time to time we keep interacting. It's so good, and I really enjoy such sessions and a lot to learn from these sessions. Anil, I'll take you back maybe 2.5 months back. You called me up, "Bhai, kya ho raha hai? Cable का क्या होने लगा है? Cable खत्म हो रहा है. What is it? ये तुम लोग किधर जा रहे हो यार? क्या कर रहे हो? कुछ कर रहे हो? नहीं कर रहे हो?" So this is a typical question that people normally have started asking. Is it an era where cable is seeing the end? ये क्या cable का दौर खत्म हो रहा है, or anything like that? I'll share a Sanskrit phrase with you. Navaram Adyam Bhasyam Ta Anaditi. Yani ki every new beginning comes from the end of another beginning. कोई भी अच्छी चीज शुरू होती है, उसका कुछ चेंज होता है और उसके बाद एक नई चीज शुरू होती है.
Very profound.
So in our trade also, as my fellow colleagues also just now mentioned, there are transitions happening. There are different buckets getting developed. There are a lot of changes that are happening in our life. That doesn't mean that cable is going to end. In fact, just to share at this stage only, our group itself has a strong ambition of growing 2x from where we are today. So this can't come from a belief, from a confidence that cable is going to be there. Cable, this linear business is going to prosper and is going to go miles. As my fellow colleague from Ansiang also mentioned, we are sitting on a gold mine. Gurjeev also gave you figures what kind of opportunity lies ahead. There is enough headroom for everybody to grow. And we definitely see a lot of opportunity over there. Definitely, there are challenges. It's easier said than done. And challenges, केवल को आदत पड़ गई है. Challenge स्वीकार करने की, challenge के साथ झेलने की. It's something like पानी में गिरने से मौत नहीं होती. I repeat, पानी में गिरने से मौत नहीं होती, मौत तो तब होती है जब तैरना नहीं आता. So we cable operators, we MSOs are strong enough. It's a entrepreneur-driven business. You very well know how the cable business started. I need not repeat. Our last mile, who is well entrenched, very near to the subscribers and homes, are strong enough, and we as MSO are working hand in glove with them. Things are changing. We both have strong presence on the ground, and we are determined to strengthen each other's hand and move along together, move in the journey together, providing strength to our distribution, fellow colleagues. अभी परसों आपका बात होती थी, VCR आया, CD आया कि सिनेमा हॉल बंद हो जाएगा. Cinema halls have undergone a change. 2 days back, I read in Times of India, at least in daily edition of Times of India, what I get in news at home, the CDs, we all thought have disappeared, download business aa gaya hai, CD khatam ho gaya hai. The top 5 albums in UK, 50% of sale is from CD. So things are changing. It's we got to realize that ये खत्म नहीं हो रहा है. We are transforming from one way of doing business to another way of performance. So in the whole process, we need to understand the consumer is not an outsider. He is key part of the business. We need to service him properly by serving him with OTT, by serving him broadband, by servicing him digital media or any such mode of services. We are not doing any favor to him. Rather, he is giving us a favor by giving us an opportunity to service him. So we need to change ourselves with time. And that is what we have been doing in last few months. When you asked me, I said, "Jab milenge to bataunga." We have been investing heavily in technology. We have been investing in our boxes. We have been investing in our networks. The box that we are providing with double tuner and recording facilities, I can claim on this platform, none of my peers is able to deliver that kind of quality product that we are giving. And it's a highly subsidized box. There are a variety of schemes. It's all consumer friendly only. So we are doing all this. It's not just the box, it's just not the SMS, it's not the entire backend has been overhauled. Why are we investing? We are investing with a viewpoint that changes are there in the country, changes are there in the air. Globally, the technology is growing and technology overtakes us. So we got to strengthen our network to match up to the standards that the consumer is going to ask for. The choices of consumer are changing. For that, broadcasters also need to tighten their belts, pull up their socks. The products, we are creating a highway. So the product is there. So they need to work on the product so that the consumer likes that product. So all I am trying to assure from this platform that we are well determined and we have strong ambition to grow in the business of linear TV. Isme couple of challenges as I would like to share with you. I'll take a few minutes
please
that you are giving me an opportunity. मेरे को बड़े time बाद मौका मिला है तो मैंने कहा चलो 5-10 मिनट बात कर लेते हैं. And fellow colleagues are also there. They can contribute and be punched. So the foremost is free days. Free days बहुत बढ़िया चीज है. I mean लाखों लोगों का इसके अंदर entertainment का इंतजाम है. And it's a noble service being driven by Government of India, प्रसार भारती और वो सब है. The challenge comes when the content providers charges us money for the content to be shown on cable TV, but they go running after free days. They start participating in the auctions over there and give it free of cost. So we are very happy. We know we also can devise products, but this level playing field needs to be ensured. At least the content provider, we have been following up with MIB. We have been following up with regulator. Regulator for last 3 years is telling us, see, we can't do much. It's beyond regulation. All right, accept it. but as content provider, they should also have broadened their view. After all, their business, their stakes are also involved with a paid television concept. The subscription that they are always hungry for. Gurjeet Singh Kapoor, Amit Arora keeps hunting me, 20% increase, 30% increase. I don't know from where they will call me for these increases when they themselves want to encourage free-to-air mode. So
that's one point. Next point.
So next point. So now you are pushing me.
No, I'm not pushing you. Listen. Please forgive me in the interest of time so that we can cover everything. It's a second.
Yeah. You cut me short. I'll stop there. The next point is, of course, OTT. बहुत बढ़िया चीज है, बहुत ही अच्छा जुगाड़ है, बहुत ही उम्दा चीज है. जहां खोलो वहां देखो, जहां छोड़ा था वहां से शुरू करो और वहां से दोबारा देखना शुरू कर दो. Wonderful. Absolutely. I mean, I am not afraid. I also would be watching it once in a while. छोटा स्क्रीन वर्सेस बड़ा स्क्रीन एक है, जंग है, वो चल रही है, शुरू हुई है, कहीं भी जा सकती है, टेक्नोलॉजी है. But the question comes, every broadcaster has its own OTT. उनको कंज्यूमर चाहिए, उनको आईबॉल चाहिए, करिए. But the level playing field needs to be ensured. The pricing over there and the pricing to cable TV needs to be at par. मैं अक्सर बात करता हूँ, गुरजीत अभी मीटिंग के बाद लड़ेगा मेरे से. नहीं हमारा सेम है, तेरे को पता ही नहीं है, तू देखता नहीं है, तू मेरी नजर से देख, सब ठीक है.
हाँ, या उसका सवाल, उसका जवाब भी है जो आपने सवाल किया, वो देगा उसका सवाल.
वो बहुत सारे मेरे पास इतने सारे रहेगा, but the fact remains, we can't run away from the fact. Fact is, it proves to be cheaper mechanism when you watch it on OTT. There are certain shows, there are certain events which they bring before the time that is shown on cable. Why so? Why are they afraid of linear business? We are their friends. They want us to grow. They should also facilitate the same service what they are giving to OTT. So ऐसा नहीं है कि we are afraid. We are geared enough to handle all these. संघर्ष करना तो हमारी आदत है. संघर्ष से डरेंगे तो कहीं भी नहीं जा सकते. So all I would like OTT players to, the content providers to OTT players to play at par. You see, when it comes to OTT or broadband video, it's huge. वो जितना choose करें, वो अपने आप में एक problem है. After all, a customer, if given 10,000 channels, he will end up confused and he will not know what to watch, when to watch, and वो समझ ही नहीं आएगी क्या. That way, cable TV एक सच्चाई है, हमारे साथ जुड़ी हुई है, हम उसके साथ जी रहे हैं, हमारे जीवन का वो part है. I have households where I have visited. Our cable TV box is off because of pandemic reasons, because of financial stress. But if I ask the house owner to return the box, he refuses. He says, "Sir, ये थोड़ा time निकल जाएगा. I'll get it on." या बीच में match आता है, मेरे को match देखना है. That applies to even bungalows also, where you have one DTH connection, one cable connection, and our box is lying off. But if I want a retrieval of the box, that owner is refusing to return that box. Majority of it, be it you go to Varanasi, be you go to Azamgarh, be you go to Kanyakumari, the situation is same. So people have a mechanism, have a set mind that they are accustomed to life with cable TV, large screen, and they are very happy to watch it. It's just momentarily there are changes and we are facing those challenges. वो निकल जाएंगे. Thirdly, my request is to honorable regulator. वो थोड़ा हमारे को भी बीमारी सर्दी जुकाम आया है, कभी केबल ऑपरेटर की तरफ भी देख लें. They always get maximized and driven by powers, I would say powers of broadcasters. They refuse to apply balm to us. They refuse to give medicine to what we are going through. We have been submitting with them. From your platform, I would like to request both regulator as well as ministry also to look at our issues and our pains and help us overcome these minor struggling issues that we have in our life. बाकी हम अपना बिजनेस देख लेंगे अनिल, that is not a issue, and cable is bound to grow. And when I'm seeing you are now eager, you are tempting to stop me.
No, I'm not. Boss,
So,
everyone wants to listen to you. SNP, बहुत
no.
सुने होंगे, आपको नहीं सुना है.
नहीं, तूफान में ताश का घर नहीं बनाया जाता, रोने से बिगड़ा काम नहीं बनता. दुनिया को जीतने का हौसला रखिए, दुनिया को जीतने का हौसला रखिए. एक हार से कोई हार नहीं होती, एक जीत से कोई सिकंदर नहीं बनता.
वाह, इरशाद.
So that's all I have to submit, and thank you very much, Anil, for giving me time, and you please carry on.
Yeah.
Anil ji, sorry, may I interrupt and take over your role for 1 minute? I want this chance to ask SNG one more question.
Please go ahead.
SNG, I've heard so many people say that the future of TV in this India will be 2 wires in each household. One will carry linear, one will carry OTT. Do you think we are capable of something like this? And if so, by when?
सर फ्यूचर में तो बहुत कुछ होना है. अभी 3D भी होना है, 4D भी होना है. सो फ्यूचर इज डेफिनेटली, एंड यू आर राइट, पीपल लाइक यू ओनली कैन, इट्स, आई लीव इट टू यू टू मेक दीज फोरकास्ट, बट इट्स नॉट गोइंग टू बी सो, सर. It's not, the journey is still a long way. Please appreciate one part, how much wireline broadband has grown.
20 million, 22 million, bus.
You have the figure. So
yeah.
फिर उसमें आपका आंसर मिल जाएगा ना सर. 2 वायर
टाइम लगेगा, इसको टाइम लगेगा,
टाइम लगेगा. ये चेंज है, वो इंडियंस की आदत है. धोनी था कैप्टन, वो आफ्टर गिविंग फैंटास्टिक परफॉर्मेंस यू स्टार्ट मसलिंग हिम. अभी कोहली साहब का हुआ है, सच ए फैंटास्टिक स्पोर्ट्समैन, ऑल ऑफ अ सडन वी स्टार्ट टॉकिंग समथिंग एल्स. So ये दुनिया का दस्तूर है. It's nothing. People strong enough, like Kapil Dev, if we meet him today, he got trophy for us in way back in 80s. Now the movie is there. So time लगेगा sir. OTT, 2 wires. Yes, home is going to be a challenge, and all these service providers are eager to service, and the race is on. It's going to take a lot of time.
Thank you,
I
sir.
don't know whether you are happy with my answer or not.
I would have loved to hear a year to say that यहाँ हमें 100 million connected homes मिलते, but I will live with this for the time being. Over to you, Anil ji.
Yeah, thank you very much, SN. Moving on to Samba. Samba's company has been doing a Samba in distribution really very well, excepting this last. I think we've heard that there's been churn happening over there. So despite the churn, are you optimistic, Samba, about distribution?
Thank you. First of all, thanks everybody. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Samba.
Yeah. So thank you. It's a very tough act to follow after Sharma ji.
Yeah.
It's a comprehensive overview of the industry and everything. Yeah. So and I totally agree with what I think Gurjeev started with, and each one of the speakers spoke about a different aspect of it. Like Gurjeev was very optimistic about this 100 million homes which is there, and Ashish spoke about the segmentation possibility. There will be a market for high, medium and low end segments, and I think Amit also touched about the regulator, the level playing field and the regulator, and Sharma ji spoke about everything, right? So in terms of the overall health of the industry, so it will be very difficult for me to add on to these points. When I was just thinking what is it that I can add on to be more optimistic than any of them. So there is just one thought in my mind, is that this 300 million homes is based on a certain number of people every household has, right? So it is based on a 4.5 kind of an average. So my thinking or gut feel as of now, this aspect of nuclearization of families has not been given much thought about, right? So with the same population, if that 4.25 becomes say 4 or 3.75, without any increase in population, the households go up. So more households means more opportunities for pay TV, even without a multi-TV. So that is one angle I think we may want to think about, because there is a huge opportunity there. As more and more nuclearization, more and more urbanization happens, and which we are seeing, right? We are already seeing, but still India is a rural market. But I believe that 10, 15 years down the line, even though the population may not be growing, It is growing at a paltry 0.7, 0.8%, but the number of households will keep on increasing. So that is one reason, in addition to all the other reasons, and the temporary phenomenon, I totally agree with. In fact, one perspective which we found using our customer survey on this pandemic situation, people are not getting money to repair their existing televisions. Because we know that a lot of televisions which are being watched through in the rural market are older televisions. And when there is a repair happens to a television, it costs say 500 rupees or say 400 rupees. They don't have money for that, and they wait for the money, because of which, even though they want to watch content, they can't watch it just because they couldn't repair their television. That percentage is growing. So these are the two perspectives I wanted to add. Otherwise, I think everything, whatever I had thought about, has been covered. Thank you.
Yeah, so Samba, you're seeing this as temporary, and as we emerge from this, and as income levels start improving, let's say by end this year, I expect this roller coaster ride of the pandemic at least till end this year, and continuing with us for a long time. But the roller coaster will not be there. It'll just be part of our life. So, I'm very
optimistic. I'm very optimistic about the future. Once this pandemic situation goes and the economy comes back, even the SME segment will come back. I'm sure people will come back to. Still, not all the people who have gone to their rural villages have not come back. Maybe 50-60% have come back. Another 40% are still sitting in the villages, and still, and many hotels are not running. Many establishments are not running. So they are all like currently in a deactivated mode. That's a large percentage. So all these things will reverse, is what I feel, in the next 12 months or so.
I think, Anil, just one more point I would like to add what Samba just said. And I am, again, you might call me very optimistic about or bullish about the linear pay TV business. But if you look at how the FTA business or free dish business grew over the last 5 years, it has doubled the number. So from a 20 million, which was in 2017 or 2018, today, I think the estimated number on free dish is close to 40 odd million. And this again, primarily is in last 2 years where we saw the movement getting a big momentum, where people moved away from pay to free. And I think like SN and Samba were mentioning, the moment we have economy bouncing back, these numbers should come back to pay TV. And I think Samba also talked about where the people don't have money to repair television also. The first thing they would do is to probably start sampling content which they've been used to, but the money was a question earlier. So I think there is a big possibility when economy improves, these people coming back to the pay TV business.
Okay, great. Winsley, you haven't spoken as yet. They've aired their views. You seem to be very optimistic at becoming a digital platform services provider and many other services, including tele-shopping, including broadband, including linear video, including OTT bundles, combo packs, etc., which I think Tata Sky has been doing also for some time now. So what is your, and as is SN also, no, not to leave out SN, otherwise, he might say, you didn't mention me. Okay. So coming back again, so what do you see going forward for linear television, and how do we get this to really, apart from the economy turning around and people having money to repair the TV sets and to start paying for cable TV again, rather than DD free dish, which is free. So what is needed? Some of the changes, some of the things that were hurting them. SN mentioned some of the things which are hurting them. So what do you think is needed from linear television to help it to have a long and sustainable life?
So, Anil, thank you again for this. So, SN sir is absolutely right, and he's pointed out the reality of where the industry is. But I think when you look at what Gurjeev and Amit and Ashish were alluding to, there is light at the end of the tunnel, right? We've seen a bit of a rough patch right now, and we're seeing growth again. And he's absolutely right about the pyramid structure. The point is that we need to create products which help people take it a step by step rather than jumping to the top of the pyramid. What do I mean? I mean that someone who's paid, say, 800 rupees for free dish, which gives them access for about, say, 100 channels, 120 channels for life, needs a step-up product. The step-up product has to be able to compete with the product that the consumer is already accessing. What do I mean by that? So I'll give you an example of what we did about 6 or 8 months ago when we faced a similar challenge. We launched a lifetime free product. What was that lifetime free product? We bundled all the free-to-air channels, and we basically offered a bundled offering of a digital set-top box and all the free-to-air channels bundled, which could be acquired, which could be got at obviously a price that was comparable with Dish TV, but from with free Dish. But from a consumer perspective, it was, I'm getting 800 rupees for 100 channels on free Dish. Now for 850 rupees, I'm getting 300 channels and a digital set-top box. And anytime that I want, I can also upgrade my service to be able to access pay channels in the future. So I think the one important thing, and I kind of mentioned it in the earlier session that we had, Anil, is I think broadcasters and platforms need to go back to the old philosophy of working together. We've not been able to do much, mainly because, of course, because of the pandemic. I've not been able to catch up with Gurjeet personally or with Amit personally, but I think we need to get back into that and put up the whiteboards again and say, listen, these markets in rural India, which are now coming out of the pandemic or coming out of the economical downturn, don't want to move from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. They want to go from 0 to 20, 20 to 40. There may be some who obviously want to go higher, but can we work and come up with a product or a solution or an offering that allows every segment? So effectively, I'm saying the one thing that could be very successful, and I know Essensa and all the DPOs are looking at it, Samba definitely at Tata Sky, is that what are the step-up products we can create? The super product is the 700 television channels and 300,000 hours of OTT and 1,000 Mbps connectivity to the home. There's also a consumer who wants just 100 television channels, happy with 5 Mbps connectivity, and okay with 1,000 hours of OTT content, specifically on 3 OTT content platforms, which are regionalized. So I think that demographic, that segmentation, creating products for different segments, that is the challenge, Anil. The challenge is not going to be about, can we get those markets back? The challenge is going to be, what are the products that we can create that cater to different socioeconomic classifications of those segments? And how do we ensure that each one has a tier? Which then goes back to the point that Amit made, that content regulation needs to be rethought, right? Very important to regulate piracy, very important to regulate measures that are negative, but do we want to really regulate things where we know we need to create step-up models in terms of content itself? That is worth a collaborative effort to discuss and to look, take it forward. So that's my simple thought. We're struggling today with figuring out what are those step-up products that you can't create a portfolio of 1,000 products, right? Technically, the back end can't really manage it. But can you create 100 products, or can you create state-wise, say 3 products, or can you create, again, within a state, what are the 3 products you create? In Bihar, what do you create for rural Bihar? What do you create for semi-urban Bihar, and what do you create for urban Bihar? So I think that is going to be the challenge for all of us, to be able to create a product portfolio that sees linear television as well as OTT, as well as broadband, forming part of that tube from the bottom of the pyramid all the way to the top. Anil. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Can I just point out one thing? I'll just take a leap. I'll just take a leap from what Winsley just said. So Vince said that this is exactly what I meant by look at your short-term and your medium-term goals. On one hand, he's saying I want to only cater to that DD free dish customer. Tomorrow, I want to sit with Winsley and tell him, listen, I'm going to give you 100 hours of archival content. Can you create 2 services and only look at these 40 villages of Uttar Pradesh? Can you do that? That's one end of the solution. The other end of the solution, probably which Samba can throw more light, is something that Tata Sky did about 10 days back. They've launched binge plus linear channels, addressing the top end of the customer who dabbles between a Wi-Fi home, watching content on a Netflix, on an Amazon or a Hotstar or a Voot, and at the same time does not want to take away linear. So they've launched something that addresses, price points between 450 onwards, going up to 750, 850, and remarkable effort. 9 languages cut across the country, bundle of OTT and linear services. So that is something that my sense is it is going to kick excitement into the industry, and I see more people following suit, following the footsteps of Tata Sky now.
Samba.
Yeah, so the topic I think is regionalization of content and what you can say segmented approach towards giving what the customer wants. So it will be cliche that we always use that we want to keep customer at the center of our decision making. So that is always the case. So this regionalization of content is something which we have been doing for a long time through the linear route all the time. So this is the first time I think we have brought in the OTT aspect also, because we always believe that it's an and game. It is not an or game.
Correct.
It is not linear or versus. It is and. So both can coexist, and there are people who want both, and there's a lot of people who want selected content of both. Not every content of everything, right? So because every content of everything, we can't have the cost lower, right? So you'll have to be selective, and you'll have to give what the customer wants. So that's why the more choices we create, again, I come back to Winsley, that's always a technological nightmare to have 1,000 products, right? Because customers are, it's now we are talking about customer as a n equal to 1 kind of a customer base. Then we'll have to have millions of products. That way we cannot do it. So therefore, we'll have to do some kind of intelligent segmentation and keep the number a meaningful, say maybe a 2-digit number or a 3-digit number. In hundreds, you can have the kind of products, but you cannot have thousands of such combinations. It will be very difficult to manage at the back end. So
Anil,
somewhere we
if
have
I
a
may-
balance. Yeah.
Sorry, Samba, I interrupted you. Anil, if I may, just to take Samba's point, so as I mentioned to you last month, in December, we launched our combo product, right? Which was linear television plus OTT plus broadband. And the top end product is, as I mentioned to you, 1 Gbps of speed to the home, 300,000 hours of OTT, and 700 linear television channels. Have we seen demand for that? Not really. Where we're seeing demand is actually the midriff, right? It's the midriff which says, I want 100 Mbps of content, 100 Mbps of broadband speed. I want my 400 television channels, right? And my OTT, I want my select 3 platforms. So we've had to step back a bit and recraft it. Because again, to Samba's point and what I was saying earlier, we can't have every product in the portfolio. You know, you can't do a matrix and say, I'm going to do 1,000 products. So we've had to, rethink. So the best part is, because it's a new model, because it's a new technology model, because it's a new product model, we're able to recraft and to be able to recast as we move along.
Yeah. So like you were saying, it's not either or, it's and.
It's and.
Right. It's and. So SN, are you there? SN, आप मुझे दिखाई नहीं दे रहे हो, sir.
No, SN's there very much.
Okay. So, television to have legs needs OTT and broadband to be bundled along with it. Television alone linear television cannot sustain on its own, apart from a free service. That's the reality. Your reaction to that, SN?
That's not the reality.
Okay.
That's not the reality. That's a presumption. And in times to come, that's what I emphasized, and you will see it. I'm going to prove it. Having spent so many years, yes, there can be addition. You can call it add-on services. After all, if we are seeding the high quality boxes at a high cost, there must be certain value additions. Definitely, customer definitely needs to be serviced properly. If he wants OTT, it's not necessary that the linear service provider only goes and gives him OTT. Let there be another player, let there be another service provider. If it suits him, let him, it's his business model. All I am saying, I rephrase that, मैं जैसा भी हूं मुझे रहने दो, मैं जैसा भी हूं मुझे स्वतंत्र रहने दो, मुझे अपने गीत अपने स्वर में गाने दो, बेकार के बंधनों में मत बांधो मुझे, बेकार के बंधनों में मत बांधो मुझे, मैं हवा का झोंका हूं मुझे फ्री बहने दो. If OTT can be unregulated, it can reach households free. Let me also be unregulated. I'll show what is there. जो उसमें क्या है कि मैंने कहा तारीफ करी, सब दिखता है तो बिकता है. आप दिखा दीजिए केवल पे, कुछ OTT चाहिए ही नहीं किसी को. आप रेगुलेट कीजिए OTT को, आप सेंसर ले आइए OTT पे, सब पता चल जाए.
Gurjeev, now you have to answer this. He's really pained, and so does Amit. And so are, while products are being, I'm sure SN is also developing products at various segments. He's not admitting it, but he also wants his freedom.
No, no, there will be a lot of, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, I know you will. I know you will. You're one of the pioneers.
I am not choosing this platform to, at this stage, this won't be right. You will see a lot of strengths emerging in our network. I don't want to make that announcement today. वो हमारा तरीका है कि कुछ कर देते हैं तो बोलते हैं, नहीं तो एस्पिरेशंस बहुत होती हैं, and definitely we are aware of, consciously aware of what we need to do. और अगर मैं आपको बोलूं, every operator that is connected to our network will have an underground feed emerging into his office. How would you take it? Today, the wires are going
all over,
kilometers overhead. All right. So we are working in a lot of directions, and everything will be there. You will see a lot of magic products coming out of the costly.
No, I accepted that also. But you're not saying it now, but you're pained about the fact that linear is available for free and OTT is unregulated. So Gurjeev, you're offering linear on OTT for free. You told me that it's to allow for sampling and to allow, and you're also putting on DD free dish so that you allow them to upgrade to pay TV at some stage. And you're giving archived and dated content on DD free dish.
That's right.
But it's still paining him. He's saying that that's preventing, because of the DD free dish package, it's hurting because the migration is happening towards the free services rather than away from paid services.
So, Anil, to answer that question, I think very clearly SN is really peeved about the presence of few channels on free dish. We have 2 channels right now, which is Star Utsav and Utsav Movies. And I think very clearly these are more of, these are channels which are carrying dated content. And this is more for sampling. And as I said, when people have disposable income, they would definitely pick up the pay TV content and through either DTH or through cable. And that's the reason why I think sampling is a preferred option. We had vacated that platform, but we saw the other channels emerging on those platforms. So to vacate that is not a sensible proposition. In fact, we should be present in all platforms to make sure that you are catering to the needs of consumers. If they don't have enough disposable income, there is a content which sits there which is not fresh, it is dated, but yet it is there to entertain people with less disposable income.
But you have to remember, Gurjeev, I'm going to interrupt you. For people who are watching it, despite it being dated, it's fresh for them, for many people who are watching it. So therefore, it's a bit of a loss as far as SN is concerned. Because those people might come onto the fresh content that Star is showing rather than dated fresh content for the users in the homes.
I agree, but let's say if and why are these people not watching fresh content? Because their ability to pay or propensity to pay is not there, and that's the reason why they're looking at cheaper options. So, like I said, when we vacated that platform, we saw it didn't affect. There were other channels which kind of occupied that position and became number 1 in the FTA market. So right now we have Star Utsav, which is the lead GC FTA channel in that market. So we are catering to the needs of consumers, and we would not let that go. But I agree with him that there could be some movement from pay to FTA, and I endorse the point which SN made. But again, this is to cater to a segment of population which can't afford pay TV.
What about OTT and linear? Having linear on OTT?
Okay, even for OTT, I think we talked about OTT. To my mind, OTT in India is predominantly a second screen phenomenon where large portion of OTT content gets consumed on the go, on mobile, and it's still not a living room entertainment experience. So when you are comparing with the linear TV, where linear TV is in living room or in bedroom, so I don't think so it's a fair comparison. And I think even today, the number of living room experience from OTT is very, very limited. I think Ashish will give you a figure.
No, the numbers are anywhere between 10 and 15 million of connected TVs.
My take is not more than 10%. In a market of India where you have 320 million homes, if you're talking about 10 odd million, is it a big number? So I think I'll be missing wood for the trees.
Okay. Amit.
So 3 points here, actually. The first point is, Gurjeev mentioned it, and I'll just elaborate this. In somewhere in 2019, when we all went off free dish was estimated to be about 32 million. We all went off, it remained at 30 million, which complements what Ashish said, that bunch of segment will always be there. Can you get every private channel off from DD free dish? I mean, that is something for all of us to go and tell the government, ki, Arey Baba, you just do your DD channels, please don't allow any of the private channels. Can you do that in the short term? The answer is no. So what is the solution that you do? All of us put together, the total number of pay channels today available on DD free dish will not be more than 10. All of them are priced less than ₹1. So you're talking about $10 in total. So we should rather look at a different solution, that we work together and attack the market where DD free dish customers are there, rather than wishing that this will completely go away if all of us, knock off get knocked off from DD free dish. Second, all our linear channels are behind the paywall on OTT services. They are not on AVOD. I think there is a misconception that, linear channels are available for free on OTT platforms. It is not like that. Even if it premieres before television, it is behind the paywall. Now, paywall conversation has started already happening. You've seen Netflix dropping prices, Hotstar actually restricting the number of screens. Sooner than later, the concept of restricting screens, big screen, small screen, and the price points is going to become relevant. You've seen Amazon recently, going for a 50% price hike. So there are various combinations happening in the market. But one point that I would agree with Sharma ji is what he said about being a free bird. I also echo in what he said, that hum panchiyan unmukt gagan ke pinjar band na reh payenge. So it is better to be unregulated and start dealing with things like unregulation rather than getting more and more regulation in our life.
So coming back to that, the elephant in the room, NTO 2.0, which is we haven't discussed so far. I mean, the confusion around it. I'm sure, by March end, you'll have to start working under that regime. I believe there could be another consultation paper coming around it. I don't know for sure, but give your views on NTO 2.0 and the fact that there is so much regulation on cable TV and television. Whereas on newspaper, nobody tells anyone how much to price a newspaper. There's no regulation on newspapers. There's no regulation on how much soap should cost.
You want me to start first?
Whoever wants to start. It's the ball is set. You can become like bulls in the china shop. Perfect.
Gurji, may I? So I'll tell you, in the first place, I don't even know why NTO 2 was required in the first place. I mean, if things were settled, everything was going fine. I mean, to have another round of amendments in regulation and asking 115 million subs to go and actually make another round of choice, I don't know what purpose. To me, I mean, it did not serve any purpose. But be that as it may, it is law. I mean, one has to follow law. I think where we are currently poised is that all the stakeholders are speaking to the regulator, and regulator has indicated that in the longer term of scheme of things, they want to move away from over regulation, which is a very positive thing. In the shorter terms of things, I think there is some degree of realization within all stakeholders in the sector that such kind of changes are turning out to be a little more aggressive and disruptive at the subscriber end. So as we talk, what we understand is that some intervention or some handholding will be done by the regulator sooner than later. And including all broadcasters, we're all part of IBDF. We are in constant touch. As a matter of fact, a committee has also been formed by the regulator to, figure out how do we implement NTO 2, but we're waiting to hear what happens. Till that time, I mean, we remain in that deep freezer, which is not liked by anyone.
So the uncharitable say this was done. Uncharitable say that this was done to benefit DD free dish.
So no. I mean,
listen, let somebody else answer, Amit. Let somebody else answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anil, can I go?
Please go ahead.
Okay. I think I would not talk about what Amit mentioned about NTO 1 and NTO 2. I just want to simply say that I think in India, especially in the broadcasting sector, there is immense amount of competition. We have 900 plus channels. And if you think that 900 plus channels is not competition enough, So I don't know what to say about it. Sharma Saab, I think, mentioned that we're getting stifled under these kind of regulations. And I completely endorse the point, because I don't think so these regulations are doing us any good. And it is just kind of coming after one after the other. We barely settled in NTO 1.1. 9.1 thereafter, I think regulator thought this didn't, take care of what they had envisaged, and they came out with NTO 2. So I don't know whether what they thought for good 2-3 years before implementing NTO 1 was not good enough, or probably they had a change of heart. So I don't want to get into nitty gritties, but to my mind, these kind of regulations are not helping. 900 plus channels, immense competition, not just amongst channels which have, I think, fighting in each and every genre and space. There are platforms which you talked about, pay linear, OTT, free dish, which are looking at wooing subscribers at large. If this kind of competition is there in the industry, do we require any kind of regulation? I think we should leave it to forbearance and let the market forces prevail. And I think this is the reason why we are not in a position to grow our business, because we're just getting stifled with what they call it a light touch regulation, but these are very, very heavy regulations which have come.
Okay. SN?
Yeah, Anil, actually, I won't be the right fellow. Our president from AIDCF, Mr. Anirudh Jadeja ji, should be speaking about it. Sure. But definitely, the matter is seized with the regulator, and he is, as Amit also mentioned, he has made a committee. We also feel that this kind of disruption is doing no good. It will be half-baked dish that will be served and disturbing the whole ecosystem. Status quo should be maintained for some time. Lot of introspection, because court case हुआ, सब कुछ delay हो गया. आज that age है, 3 साल पहले कुछ सोचा था, आज कर रहे हैं. Things have changed. Lot of water has flown. A lot of homework needs to be done, and relook and need to be fresh look need to be given to what has been done. And using, I mean, regulator has enough powers to put it under hold and do a fresh open house session into it and take it forward accordingly. Otherwise, as I am hearing, rather I am surprised to hear what Amit and Gurjeev have to state. I thought they would be the happiest people with NTO2. The kind of growth they are looking at is phenomenal. Star is looking at 80% growth, and Amit also, Colors also, the way they announce the prices is huge. But I don't think the platforms are in a position to handle these kind of price hikes. So we need to really look at it afresh. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Samba?
Yeah, I don't have much to add to what both Gurjeev and Mr. Sharma ji and Amit have said. Actually, so we will follow whatever. See, there is something which DPOs had to do, which I think the DPOs did sometime in February 2020 on NTO 2.0. So this one actually we will have to follow. If the broadcasters do follow the NTO 2, we will have to make the necessary changes to make sure that we are in a position to implement that.
But,
so
but won't that be detrimental? Won't that be detrimental to you, or will that be beneficial? You're already seeing some erosion.
So it's for the customer to decide. Actually, if you ask me, my personal view, it's based on whatever I have seen in this industry. We are charging today customer 50% of what we were charging 20 years back for double the content. So yes, effectively, the customer is getting the value at 25% of the amount which he was spending, say 20 years back. So there ends the matter, right?
Yeah. And actually, inflation has hit the whole world.
Yeah. So he's getting 4 times the value what he was getting 20 years
back. TRA has succeeded in that sense, and the government has succeeded.
Exactly the point. So therefore, I don't think we should flinch from any price increase. We are still the lowest in the world. And I think there is enough and more when all other prices, all the necessity prices are going up. And we can see petrol prices, compare it what it was 20 years back versus what it is today. Compare that with the DTH prices, what it was 20 years back versus what it is today. That's all. Simple. Then you will see that delta, you will see.
Yeah.
And just one more point I just want to mention while we keep talking about, very high price broadcasters have been asking. If you look at, I talked about an average ARPU in cable and satellite business is closer to a 240. If you look at what broadcasters walk away with, is not even $1. So I don't know what kind of a business we are in, providing close to 900 channels, and we all broadcasters put together get not more than $1. So is there a business which is sustainable? I think we need to just kind of, like Samba said, look for some kind of introspection and look at what best a consumer can pay. To my mind, if he would not ask, we'll not get.
Sure. Winsley, and then finally Ashish.
So, no, I completely agree with Samba's point of view, because I think it's, every business wants to look at growth going forward. And obviously, like any other business, one would look to grow, and you can only grow if your revenues grow, and your basic business is content, right? As in content distribution. And I think from a perspective, you mentioned it also, that the new regulatory framework, which was NTO 1, in terms of bringing down the price, has achieved it, right? It has achieved it. So the rush of getting into something else, I think, requires a lot of introspection, because going back to the entire consumer base, getting consumer preferences, creating then packaging to be able to do that, and then ensuring that everyone's backend is robust enough to be able to do it, create packaging that's on parity. I think it's a bit of a far-fetched approach. So, and again, alluding to what Samba said, the new regulatory framework, which was NTO 1, came out in Feb 2019, right? And it took us at least 6 or 7 months to bring in stability. And just while stability was happening, in less than 3 months after stability was the lockdown in March 2020. I think we really need to go back to the drawing board and look at it as a collaborative effort and figure out how can we actually stabilize this whole thing going forward. There's no question of it. From a compliance perspective, I think all of us believe very strongly that we will ensure complete compliance. But I think it's worth a second and a third look.
Yeah. There are other things also which require audits are not happening for the last few years. Those are challenges the industry is facing 2 years now. I think many operators are not letting themselves get audited. So broadcasters are actually bleeding in terms of there are leakages happening all over.
I mean, we have, Sharmaji mentioned, right, as AIDCF, we're very particular about piracy. But now we've seen a lot of piracy happening at smaller operators who are not necessarily part of our federation, right? And how do we ensure, compliance with that? That is something that needs to be brought up. And now the broadcaster can't even go and audit them, right? For based on the regulations. I think all those things require discussion and requires significant discussion.
So you're okay with broadcaster audits rather than third-party audits?
So Anil, my point to you was, for example, when we complain about piracy, right? When piracy is complained, what is the next action point? If I see a competitor in a particular region or a particular market pirating the signals, and I complain to the broadcasters short of switching them off, right? And which they can't, by the way, because there's a whole regulatory process. It's a challenge. So I think that is something where, and maybe this doesn't need to go back to the regulator. Maybe it's something that the broadcasters and the federations sit together and figure out what is the appropriate measures. And as AIDCF, Sharmaji will agree with me, we even raised this a few months ago, and we set up these regional panels for anti-piracy, etc. Right? We've set up state-wise nodal officers, etc. I think there's a lot more to do before we can really say that we're good for the next level of doing business.
Okay, Ashish, as an outsider looking in, like I'm an outsider looking in, but I'm an insider as well, because we are servicing some of the cable ecosystems, cable providers. Yeah.
I think this entire discussion on NTO is pointless. All right, because in my mind, the consumer is king, and consumer is clearly saying that I want to consume content digitally as well as on linear. I don't think, like you very rightly said, across the board, it's not an or, it's an and, right? Samba here has a digital and linear feed, so does SN, so does Winsley. So does Gurjeev, so does Amit, right? We are sitting and doing an NTO on television and television and television. And I don't know, I don't understand this. I think as Winsley correctly said, let's go back to the drawing board and let's see what that futuristic product is going to be for the end customer. Okay, screw DTH, cable, broadband.
Yeah, let's look at an IoT universe, which is totally.
We haven't
even an IoT. Yeah.
We haven't even gone there. My personal take, and like I said, I'm an outsider, and like John Lennon, I never did a days of honest work. I just dream about it. But I will say that it's eventually going to be a 2x4 model. And what I mean by 2x4 is 2 wires and 4 products. Okay, and we need to reimagine television as far wider into this 2 wire and 4 product model. The 2 wire will be linear and broadband. Okay, within linear there will be different TV packages. That's product 1. There will be different OTT packages. That's product 2. There will be 2 other products in my mind, right? Some guys have started going extensively onto home services, whether it's security or education. But if I take a step back and, after 20 years in media and entertainment on the outside, what is M&E? M&E is basically 2 things, right? It's escapism and knowledge. That's it. In whatever shape, size, and form, it's escapism and knowledge. None of you guys, I'm sorry, are doing enough on knowledge. All right. And that's my personal take on the matter, right? You're just forgetting knowledge. You can't trust the news guys only to keep coming up with knowledge. There's a whole world out there on knowledge, right? Escapism is not only linear content or digital content. There's so much more around there. I think the whole industry just has to go back to the drawing board, figure out its, 2x4 matrix and reposition itself perhaps. And then the government needs to look at that new industry and the new world and perhaps create regulations over there if required. NTO can also
I don't think it's required really for edtech right? and distribution tech. You don't require regulation.
Yeah, so
apart from protecting the consumer, which is, and the consumer will pay if it's priced right. If it's not priced, he will not pay.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sorry, I don't have a quarterly revenue target to give my shareholders, so it's easy for me to sit back and say all this. But I'm just feeling that if I take a 2025 point of view, my FICCI report will be very different from today. And it will talk about very different things that are happening. I mean, I'm in the process of creating this year's report. And from last year, there are at least 8 or 9 new areas we're covering. 8 or 9 areas in 1 year, making such a big difference. Short video, for example. What a phenomenal take. I can always go back and say that, why did the large broadcasters not do short video? Why did it take a TikTok? I mean, that's hypothetical. But I'm just saying that the customer pulse is something that we need to really go deeper. Let's expand on education and escapism. I think there's a lot more opportunity. The regulatory buckets will happen. There'll be happy times, there'll be sad times, there'll be over-regulation, there'll be under-regulation. I think in the long term, it will correct itself. My point of view from someone outside, you all can call me later and blast me independently. Because
they won't blast you. Relax. This is a discussion. I hope you all won't blast him. SN, Amit, Gurjeev, Samba, Winsley, and...
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but that's the point. You'll have to weigh this in mind. How do we service the short video needs? How do we service possible local connectivity? That I think that bird has flown out of the window. I'm talking about voice connectivity. How do we address that? And how do we address security? Gurjeev needs to leave, by the way, but we can continue. Thank you, Gurjeev, for being a part of this, and the rest of us can
Thank
continue.
you, Anil. Thank you, everybody. I just need to get out. Sorry about that, but there is some...
Me too. I need to get out before this.
Yeah, just 2 minutes more.
All have a fantastic week ahead.
Yeah, Gurjeev, you can leave. I know you're going for health reasons. You can leave. But Ashish is not going for health reasons, going for work reasons. So the voice connectivity bird flew out of the window. Now what's left? Why doesn't the infrastructure business, like distribution of video, get into other services in a bigger way? Like you started doing a tele-shopping, Winsley, and SN is looking at organizing his existing infrastructure. But we need, and Samba is looking at other services also. So why not get into further services? Why not partner with delivery? Why not partner with other platforms to get into that ecosystem, which is revenue? You'll have home connectivity, like nobody's business with your LMOs. Who's going to answer this? Am I being too aggressive? If I am,
Anil, wait and watch. And as far as bashing is concerned, you are the fittest to bash anybody and everybody.
I'm not bashing anybody, sir. I'm just giving my point of view.
Your profession is bashing only. That's all.
नहीं यार मैं bash नहीं करता मैं धंधा वाला हूँ यार. No, I'm just giving points of view like Ashish has given his points of view.
I have nothing more to add as of now.
Winsley.
So Anil, you're absolutely right. I think from a perspective, we have the consumers. As SN Saab was saying and Samba, we have the consumers. The point is, when you have the consumers, you can't stop at that and say, I'm only going to give him video because that is the future, etc. You have to give him a whole bunch of other services. You have to load on broadband. You have to load on OTT. Broadband, yes, one could argue that, okay, the regulatory environment was not conducive.
No, it's gone. The AG, I think, is gone. No, so what's
Now it's come out,
Yeah.
so now broadband can become a reality. OTT is happy to look at aggregation, so you can bundle OTT with your solution that's going on. Surveillance is going to become a big thing. Again, you're absolutely right. There is no one who is better connected to people's homes than a last mile owner or a local cable operator, right? There's no one better than that. Can each LMO become a surveillance point of presence, right? Where rather than people buying cameras, he takes over surveillance SaaS, surveillance as a service. Can Wi-Fi, under the Prime Minister's PM Money scheme, can our operators provide Wi-Fi?
hotspots also.
Absolutely. And then not only that, you brought up one thing, which is something that I know a lot of LMOs are looking at. How do we leverage the fact that you have over 10, 50, 100, 200, 100,000 last mile owners who are in the most remotest of India, who can easily become your delivery mechanisms for the rural version of an Amazon or a Flipkart or a Myntra or someone, right? So I think there's a lot of work going on that, Anil. There's a lot of work. I think it's a question of, there are multiple pieces to the jigsaw puzzle. Everyone's kind of looking at how to bring it all together. Are they working towards bringing it together? Absolutely. I can speak for myself, and I know other platforms are working on it. Is it taking time? Yes. And one of the reasons why it's taken time is because the pandemic, for whatever reason, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, did impact our face-to-face connections with a lot of people. You need to sit with them, work on models. I think you'll see 2022, as in the financial year, not just the finance, sorry, as in the calendar year, you'll see a lot of announcements happening in this space. You'll see people partnering with like-minded, as I mentioned in the earlier session. I think single product windows are not going to work. We need to be able to have collaborative business models and leverage the footprint.
So you're a distribution platform operators.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're going to see video continue live, linear video continuing with you all, but being supported to help you all have a robust business by other services.
Absolutely.
Am I right? I mean, that's what we are concluding from this.
Absolutely.
Not just simple and SN and Samba and you are all moving towards that. Amit is going to get, you're going to work closer together, the broadcasters, to help ensure that the pricing restrictions go away, that packaging restrictions go away. You'll are free to operate the way you all are through AIDCF and IBDF. So all in all, well, linear TV seems to be having a linear video and cable and DTH, despite the temporary hiccups. They seem to have a bright future.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, all of you all. I hope next year's VBS will show a story which has progressed beyond what was there this year. I hope all of us will be speaking we'll be actually bearing the fruits of what we envisioned, rather than just again having a wish list. Thank you, all of you all, and thank you, Ashish, for your input. Thank you, SNG. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So
Bye.
there are a few questions from the viewers.
Yeah.
Anil sir, Siddesh has sent you on WhatsApp.
Okay, give me a second. This is the 5G things. When is 5G coming to India? It's going to be a little while away. Probably by later this year. I think they're expecting it by later this year. But let the panelists also talk about it. Will wireless internet impact cable TV? What is the future of video and broadband when 5G optimizes? TV screens is no longer just household TV set, but mobile smartphones which are wireless. So will mobile phones impact screen viewing pattern? Will set-top box disappear when 5G takes center stage and the Android app becomes the mother platform where OTT is available? Google Play Store and Apple app replaces the distribution system. Will consumers prefer TV over OTT in future? There are tons of questions. You all can read it in the question in the chat panel. So who's going to take these up? SN ko lene ka hai? Or have I lost Winsley? Or who's going to take it? Some of the questions.
So I'm happy to answer. I mean, if there's anything. So one is about this 5G technology that people keep on talking about, right? I think from a perspective, if you look at it, interestingly, there was an article just on CNN News last night, and it's still continuing on CNN News, where a lot of airlines have stopped flying to airports where 5G technology is being tested, Anil, right? I was just looking at it a while earlier. Now, what is the impact? I mean, the caveat that I'm saying is that it's a matter of discussion. Will it impact the video business? Will it impact our linear television? Certainly not. I think the applications of 5G, and the deployment of 5G in terms of what it will deliver in terms of services will remain in parallel to what we are doing on the linear side of the business. Linear television requires significant bandwidth for usage. It requires certain protocols for people, consumers to use it. I really don't see 5G impacting this business, at least for a long time to come. Will it happen eventually? Possibly, but I think there's no real, is there a fear on the horizon? There's no real fear on the horizon from the business perspective. Then was the talk about set-top boxes getting replaced by other technology. I think set-top box is a misnomer as a device. The device can be anything. The device could be a card. It could be, it's like, if you recall, we had laptops in the good old days, and the laptops had a wireless adapter that you would plug in, that big card that would slip in. Then it became a wireless dongle to be able to access Wi-Fi. And now the Wi-Fi service is built inside the laptop. So similarly, set-top boxes, or as we refer to them as gateways, media gateways, will keep on evolving. They will evolve, whether they can get integrated within a device, within a television set, or within a laptop, or within a mobile. I'm sure time will tell, and we're seeing technology getting miniaturized to be able to deliver it. We're having this VC today. Earlier, you needed huge amounts of VC equipment, right? Video conference equipment. Today, you don't need it. You've got your laptop.
So you're saying, in a sense, you're saying yes, it could happen that you'd have an Android app.
Yeah, you'd look at devices, delivering. So the concept of delivery is not going to be a.
Anybody else wants to give their inputs? Amit, SN?
Unfortunately, I can't see the questions on my panel, so.
Yeah, it's in the chat box. It's in the, if you go and show your panelists, participants, click on participants.
I've done everything, but somehow they're not appearing in my
So can you just repeat that once again for Amit's convenience?
Yeah. So there are many questions, right, from basically, but the major one is talking about the fact that 5G is going to come. Is that going to impact broadcast and linear television distribution via satellite and via cable TV and via DTH? That's one question which is there. Then they're talking about this,
which is what I just answered.
I know, but he wanted to know the questions. Then the other one is whether ads will disappear, will replace set-top boxes, which he said it might. It could happen. Then there's another one. Is digital technology changing business models of media and entertainment, including all related businesses supporting this business? As mobile smartphones with internet connections via SIM is becoming cheaper and accessible to all, with deep penetration, will it replace TV viewing habit to OTT viewing habit? Then, 1 second, then, 1 second. Yeah, that's about it. And when do they feel that there'll be an OTT tariff order, which I think is not welcomed by anyone? Does SN want an OTT tariff order?
OTT should be regulated immediately.
No, but you want a tariff order? No tariff order.
Tariff order is a different thing. First, let them regulate at least.
Yeah. So there were the new rules. IT rules were promulgated, and they've made it.
Let it be level playing field.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about Amit?
I mean, I'm a different protagonist. I'm not a protagonist of. I would rather say support as in what he had earlier said, that there needs to be a deregulation in TV business rather than you getting everybody to regulate all over again.
Okay,
Winslet, level playing field, I am saying.
So what Amit is saying, don't regulate OTT, but deregulate TV.
Yeah,
so then it's a level
what I also said. That's what
again, level playing.
Yeah,
it's
so
a level playing.
I don't think AIDCF, and I say this because SN Sharmaji, I don't think the demand has ever been the negative way. It's been the positive way, that you deregulate television as well, right?
Yeah.
We have the same checks and balances. If you're talking about, for example, parental controls, the parental controls have been available from day one on the set-top boxes, where people could use parental controls. So if you want to create a level playing field, please feel free to deregulate our television business. We believe that we will be able to continue. We're not asking for anything, what do you call it? We're not saying, no, stifle the other one. We're saying, allow us to be able to also upgrade our game, and we're happy to play that game. We will follow the laws of the land and ensure parity there.
Thank you very much. So anyone wants to say anything else? But thanks, SN. Thanks, Amit.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Vijay, thanks, Gurjeev. Thanks, all of you. I think it's been a pretty fruitful discussion. We're going to see a lot more collaboration. We're going to see a lot more innovation, and hopefully have a very healthy distribution platform operator business, as well as a linear television business going forward. I didn't touch upon subscription versus advertising for broadcasters and the dependence on subscription versus advertising. We'll do that next year probably.
Sure.
Then hope your confidence is restored in linear TV.
No, I've always been very confident. I'm the biggest pusher of linear TV. We just raised these questions to make us think, all of us think again. We've been running something called televised Tamil, televised Bangla, where we are trying to ensure, tell advertisers that linear television is not going away. So we've run Marathi, televised Marathi.
Messenger. You need to be a positive messenger for us.
I am very positive. I'm very positive for all segments. We are an independent observer of the industry, and we want every segment to prosper and grow. Whether it's OTT, whether it's television, whether it's cable, whether it's DTH. At the end of the day, we'd love it if you all want us to grow also.
Thank you, Anil.
Here's a platform. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.